So I've set it up, and obviously you get a lot less responses than the valuation ads, which in my opinion is totally fine, because I'd rather have qualified ads. Somebody, in my opinion, who downloads a PDF about how to best prepare their home for market is a lot more motivated. Not 100%, not always, but there's a lot higher chances that they're thinking of selling. So I've gotten some responses. I had a great tip from Brandon to suggest, because there was nothing that was actually notifying me that I got a new lead, because the automation that you guys have set up is very, very short. It's basically just sending an email. So he showed me how to set up in a different part of the system where you can be notified anytime anytime you receive somebody's name or a phone number. So I did that, and I'm starting to get emails, and it's great. And so, like I said, the numbers are trickling in very small numbers. I added an automation or a task in the automation to send out a text message 3 minutes after they downloaded the PDF. Sorry, I got something caught in my throat. And so 3 minutes after they receive the PDF, there's an email, there's a text message going out saying, hey, just want to make sure you got the 12-tip list. If you're thinking of selling, down the line at some point, it'd be a great idea to get a home evaluation, no pressure whatsoever. Let me know if you're interested, something of that sort. So I assume I set it up correctly. I'm not 100% sure, because so far I haven't gotten any responses from anybody. Before I did that, I manually sent out the emails, the text messages. I got about, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 people who had downloaded the list, and I manually sent them a text message. I had a couple of people ask me, to take them off the list. One person said, I have no idea who you are, which, by the way, I don't even know how that happens. I don't know if they're just making it up or the numbers don't match who they are. I'm not sure. So my question is anybody else doing anything else other than just sending a follow-up text right after they receive the list? I mean, I've been an agent for 21 years. I know what to do when you get a lead, but I was just wondering, with this type of online leads, if people do something else, if they follow up with a phone call or not, or if they wait, if they do, how long do they wait? And also for you, Marcus, and the whole gang over there, are you guys planning on building up that automation with more responses, more bot responses like you have on the home valuation, or should we just kind of build it up ourselves?
These are great questions, Michelle. I'll just jump in and start with the top one, and then open up to everybody. You can answer the rest. But the first one you kind of said, which I think is really important, is you're not sure how people can enter something and then say, how did you get my information? Or I don't know what this is. We see it even in people starting StreetText. Like, literally, someone will start a trial, and then we'll send them an email and be like, how did you get this? And I think it's just a natural thing that happens. People are on Facebook, or they're doing something else. They're in between an appointment. Maybe they're going to see a dentist. They scroll down. They see something that's relevant or interesting or important, because they're like, oh yeah, I am actually thinking of selling a home. They click on it, and then they enter their information, and somebody says, or the phone rings, hey, your kid's in school, they need to be picked up. So they go and they leave, they do that, and they just forget. And they completely forget. And it's just like it's a part of life. And so it's all about the peaks and valleys of interest, right? So it's like people have a peak of interest when they submit your, or they click on your ad and they submit an inquiry. And then that goes into a valley of interest, which is normal. And then that peak will come up again. And so I like the question around the follow-up, because the follow-up ensures that you're always staying consistent. So you hit them on the next peak. And now their brain's going to be like, okay, right, this is actually relevant. It's interesting. It's important. But if we hit them on the valley, they're disconnected. They forgot about it. They're somewhere else. They're thinking of other things. And so it's really about making sure that you nurture them. And one of the simplest ways to do that is, if they got the PDF, something you can do very next step is now tie that into the home value. So you can say, hey, you got your PDF property list tips. Would you be interested in having a value of your home? And then maybe showing them, or having the link to go to your next funnel, because that way you can now really qualify them. And because if they're raising their hands for both, that's a really hot prospect. That's somebody you want to have an appointment with. So I think the thing is how can you get your drip to set an appointment on your behalf?
Right.
And that's probably like a really good approach to the PDF funnel.
Yeah, I mean, with that, that's where the video comes into play, right? Because you're acknowledging in that moment that this is the PDF, you're telling them what to look at, how to interpret it. And then also it's that empathy, value, ask. We continue to reinforce that. Watch that Bomb webinar. Empathy is like, hey, I can only imagine you thought this was just a free download PDF, right? But the value that you get with this is actually, I'm going to include a home valuation. All I need from you is an address. Easy. In those words, like in your own words, right? An authentic connection, but that's how you do it in that expression. And you can kind of work on your AI, both your email and SMS to reflect that. And you just got to practice and you know, measure it. If it works, you know it's working. If it's not, you have to change your communication style a little bit.
Right. All right. Thanks, guys.
The other thing you really need to remember is they call it surfing the internet for a reason. When these guys came on, if you think they only came to your site, you're losing track. They've been on 15 others. That's why when they say the relationship, I just tell people, hey, as you know, how you doing, this and that, Leon from Premier House's team, you were on one of our sites online, and I'm just following up. I give them the easy out because I'm not gonna see you're on my site. They have no clue what your site was. So, you know, go at it with the thought that you're not the only one. And, you know, there's a job where rejection's something that you need to be able to handle, and it doesn't bother me. But like what I'm doing now is, and I let myself get behind initially when I started on this, I've gone in and I've started adding all the addresses, looking all these folks up, putting all that in there, and they're going to get a different, they're gonna get a different drip from me. But I'll wait if we're gonna do one inside this one that's going, and I'll run with that before I load it over. But definitely I did do like Wendy said, and I put the text message in there set to go out. I didn't do a video yet, but I've got one in mind I'm gonna do. And then the thing to keep it going is I'm going to take each step, and once a week or once a month, I ain't figured out yet which one I want to do. I'm going to discuss each step individually by video, post it in my Facebook page as well as on my YouTube thing, and see what kind of results I get out of that, because this way they'll go in and it'll be there.
Yes, sorry.
No, I was going to say, just to play devil's advocate real quick, Leon, a lot of the time with social media, especially, unlike people searching, because you're thinking in the bottom of the funnel, people are always searching for your services. At the top of the funnel, interruption-based marketing, Facebook derived, they're not. So actually the advantage is you, because this person hasn't been looking. They're just scrolling down Facebook. And so when they get that, you're first to that opportunity. And that's why the speed to lead component and really the speed to relationship side of this is so massive, because they're not actively looking at other websites in real estate. They're on social media, they're on Facebook, they're just scrolling down their Facebook newsfeed, which is why these leads oftentimes are like, who are you? Why you know, they have no idea. They just so happen that you stopped their feed, they clicked on it. Now it all begins on how you create that authentic connection. So that's where that first impression needs to be dialed in.
Yeah, what I did, and I don't know whether it's still an experiment for me, but the email that goes out automatically right after they fill out that form for the 12 tips list, the email that goes out has a video in it. I do not yet anyway. So I just record a video on YouTube, and then I grab a thumbnail or an image. It's not even a thumbnail. It's actually a bigger image of the video. Put it in the email with a link to the YouTube. Which actually, I'm sorry, I don't use YouTube. I uploaded the video to my website on a dedicated page. That's not apparent on my website. It's just an invisible page if you go on the menu. But when they click on the image of the video on the email, it takes them directly to my website on the page where the video is. It starts playing automatically. The only thing is the sound is not on, because I think that's what the internet does. It doesn't automatically turn on sound for privacy purposes. But the reason why I did that is because I thought, well, I get them directly to my website. And yes, it is a real estate website and they'll see right away that I'm a realtor. But I'm thinking, you know what? If they're interested in selling, then I might as well just bring them to a real estate website. If they're not, and they're annoyed by the fact that it's a real estate website, they'll go away, and that's fine because I don't need weak leads. But if they're really sellers and they're going on the website of somebody who does business in their neighborhood, then I can, and so far I haven't gotten any strong pushback or of that sort. So we'll see where that goes. The only thing that I don't have, which BombBomb has, is whether or not they've actually viewed the video and how long they stayed on it. So I might switch to a BombBomb video.
That's the main advantage when you're leveraging email of any sort. You want tracking. You want to know who's opening. You want to know who's watching. You want to know who's clicking on the links. You want to know the replies. You need to measure it by taking that person's email, throwing it in that tracking, and making sure it's effective communication. Jennifer Salters is a pro at that. That's why she's gotten up to 90%. So if you're not doing that, then how do you really measure it? Like we spend so much time measuring our ad performance and split testing and A/B testing, but where's all the time spent on measuring your follow-up? You can't just assume that you've sent them something and they got it, and then you're not getting any feedback from it. So that needs to be the priority. The tip of the iceberg, 10% of the overall solution is lead generation. 90% is everything else. Everything you can't see until you start working on it from the back end. That's why I think that's the discussion everybody should be having, because whether your lead's $2 or $15, it doesn't matter if you're not measuring the follow-up on it.
Good
right?
point. Yeah. When you have BombBomb, can you only play the video within the email, or would I be able to post that video on that page on my website and still measure?
You can post it on your website. Like I said, when you post it in, it's still going to go back to BombBomb. You're embedding it, so it's going to go back and be trackable, and that's what makes it so nice.
On the website, on my website, right? On the page on my website.
Yeah, it'll be on your website, but then it's still, the statistics show up in the BombBomb dashboard, and you still get all the notifications.
Got it.
Yes. And don't forget, now that we're doing this lead ad and we're heavy on this lead ad where we're getting name, phone number, and email, why wouldn't you just send a video from your phone to introduce yourself, right? You don't need the BombBomb component. You have your smartphone. Everybody has the ability to do it now, Android or iPhone users.
You mean
nobody
customize a video for each lead every time I get a lead?
100%. You got their phone number, just go straight to your text, right? And then click on compose email and click on your camera button and just shoot the quick 20 to 30 second video or less to introduce yourself. It's interrupting what they're usually used to with text messaging. No one gets stuff like that. So if you want to be different, do something different. Create that first impression. And it's worth trying. And if you do try it, you get in the habit of just saying video is going to be my new thing. I'm going to start using it for everything, for texting, for emailing, for video messaging.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's going to make you different. Everybody else is still trying to text. Everybody else is trying to make the phone call and then leave the voicemail and then call back if they don't answer and do it again. Right? But body language is a big part of this, and people are going to make first impressions with what they view.
No, I agree. I mean, I actually, when I recorded the video that I put on my website as a response, my video says, "Hey there," because obviously I don't know the person's name at that point. So I would much rather have somebody my video is saying, "Hey," with the person's first name. So that's a lot more personalized. But also it took me I'm kind of vain, I guess. It took me maybe a dozen times to redo that video to finally got it right. But then when I looked at it again the next day and I viewed it with a fresh eye, I was like, yeah, it looks good, but it looks really like a canned video. It doesn't look natural. Like I just did this video on the fly. So even though it's not a bot, it's almost like a bot video, very stapled kind of answer. Hey, thanks for answering, would you like to be, if you're interested in getting a home evaluation. I mean, it's almost like a script. It is a script, actually. So I think it's a good idea, Marcus, to maybe just do a video on the fly. It just means that I would have to actually work a lot harder, which all of us realtors don't want to work.
Well, hey, the thing of it is, it's like I have always found it's more relatable if someone stops what they're doing in the day and they're in the car, they're coming out of the gym, or they don't say the perfect thing. That's more relatable than having the perfect script. So everybody wants the script that's going to get an appointment, actually, but it's far more about being authentic and just saying you're there to serve and help them and ask a question or two, and then just kind of go from there.
Yeah, I remember Alicia showing her in that bomb video after that webinar. She gave an example of one gentleman. He was just out riding his bike, and he was just with his kid on the back, and he was just like, "Hey, it was great to see you. You know, thanks for requesting," and whatever it was. And he was just out biking around with his kid, and it's just natural. It's you're in an environment. It's not canned, and you're just being yourself with your family, whatever it is. So I think making it the more personal and in that moment is going to go a lot further than having like a canned type response.
Hey, you guys.
So question, guys. I just joined the webinar now. So we're getting the leads, right? They're getting an email with a video. They're getting it 5 minutes later. They're getting a text. When should you send that other video text?
Well, as soon as you want. I mean, I think ultimately it's up to you. If you get like with this ad, we don't have the notification yet that prompts you. So I think that's going to be the only thing that we have to build as a team on the StreetText side, because you're not getting prompted like you do with the seller conversion template. So I don't know, Troy, if you want to speak to that, or John or anybody, but I think that's coming soon, right? The notification when their lead comes in on this one.
Well, right now it will be for anybody who signs up kind of going forward. But right now, all you have to do is just go into your integrations in your settings and do the email integration, put your own email in, and then set it to be a lead ad, and then set it to send a notification to you. It'll then, every time a lead comes in on any of the lead ads, you will get a notification to your email that they've come in. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Can you create a video or show us with that, just so we're all on the same page?
Marcus, that was happening to me yesterday. I just went into integrations and added my email. Even though StreetText is set up with my email, I wasn't receiving the leads. So I just went to settings, integrations, and added my email, and I started getting all the leads.
Bam. Just like that. And we'll shoot a little video and put it in the insider group under the announcement section, so that everybody can make sure they have that set, especially for this new ad. Troy's going to show you exactly right here.
I'm actually in your account, Holland. So you just go into the gear, top right-hand corner here. You're going to go to integrations right here. And then under email, oh, did we just do an update where this is not showing?
You'll need to clear your cache, Troy.
Yeah,
okay.
We just did an update.
Also, Marcus, you know how I was asking how to integrate it with like Follow Up Boss? I didn't do anything, but it started all of a sudden once I integrated it with my email. They just start going straight to Follow Up Boss now too.
Yeah, I've heard that from some people.
Sure, I can just show it here. So if you go to integrations, and if it's on the screen here, you can just click on emails, and he's going to put in your email address here. And as long as, so you have a choice, you could make it, because the type of ad that we're running there is called a lead ad. So if you wanted, you could just make sure that you're only sending the lead ad notifications to you, because that's the leads that you would otherwise not be receiving. Or you can just leave it as all, and then you just hit save, and that'll make sure that you get it all. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, just ask away.
And just remember, we're talking about the lead ad right now, the 12 tips ad. You already have that built in for automatically for your conversion, with the custom domain, the address, email template one. So it's different for this new lead ad we're talking about.
I want to ask, is it Holland? Yeah, I don't have Follow Up Boss, but I'm using a different CRM, but I'm thinking of switching over to Follow Up Boss. You're saying it goes straight into it, and then from there, is there like some sort of tag that identifies the lead as a StreetText lead, and then you have a drip campaign that starts from that?
Yeah, so you can create your own tags. That way, wherever they're coming from. So you could just create a StreetText tag, so you can mark it as StreetText. And then there's already built out like email campaigns. I've done some of my own, pretty easy. And then you just set up how it's easy, but yeah, there's some emails that are already built out, or you can build out your own and set them up on a drip campaign. You can make them, if you want them to be sent out every day, every other day, every 5 days,
Right.
every 30 days.
How is the tag added to the lead before it goes out to to the CRM, to Follow Up Boss?
So with StreetText, it doesn't, once it gets integrated into the system, it doesn't, it doesn't mark it as anything. You just have to create the tag yourself.
So you go in for each lead that you get, you add a tag every time?
Yeah.
Marcus, is there a way to
That's
put that in the
not the
automation?
way my follow-up boss works. All my StreetText leads are tagged as seller leads. I'm sure there's a way to go in and change that tag for this specific ad, but the default ads are all tagged as seller ads coming out of StreetText into Follow Up Boss.
Is there a way to add in the automation a task that adds it as a StreetText tag, and then it goes into the CRM being marked as a StreetText ad already?
It already functions that way. It's marked as a StreetText lead in Follow Up Boss.
Oh, so any lead that comes in, whether it's the lead ad or the valuation ad, they're automatically set up or tagged as a seller StreetText lead.
Correct. Highly recommend Follow Up Boss.
Yeah, I had Zillow integrated as well, and I don't even really know how it did it, so that I'm still figuring out Follow Up Boss too. I'm kind of new to it, but something cool that it did on its own is because it knew it was an online imported lead, it automatically, as soon as it was imported, set it up on my online every other day like email campaign as soon as it got imported. So I'm sure StreetText, lead can do something like that as well. So you don't have to go set it up yourself. Once you have the campaign ready, once it gets integrated, it just sets it up on the campaign itself.
Yeah, depending on how you have it tagged, it'll automatically trigger an action plan that you have for it.
Yeah, and I'm curious too with HomeBot. HomeBot, guys, that's going to be an interesting integration on this one too, because you now have their email, but how do you get their address and import them into HomeBot? And if you can figure out that combination, that could be quite the win.
Yeah, or just having their phone number too. Like if they're not responding with their address yet, texting them the seller lead page that HomeBot makes for you. That way, maybe if they don't want to give you their address, but they go enter everything in themselves on the seller lead page, it puts them into HomeBot.
Problem you face though with this new ad is it's not giving you an address. So when it goes over into HomeBot, it's not going to be able to trigger the information. So for now, that's why I said I initially was initial cadre when we started this thing. So I was like severely behind adding the address, but I've gone back adding the addresses and stuff like that. And then I just going to do a mass export over. So by this weekend, I should be caught up. And then at that point, it becomes much easier. And then Marcus, what was really funny, you had that guy you had showed that walked out to his car to always do the videos from the car. And I was laughing so hard about that, like, God, that's brilliant. So no matter where I'm at, I go ahead and I'd send a video just showing, hey, just want to take a minute, stop what I'm doing to reach out to you, They're getting that feeling of importance because you stopped what you were doing to reach out to them. You made them the priority. You give them that warm, fuzzy feel, and you wind up getting more opens.
Leon, just change your virtual background to a car interior.
Hey,
Juan, you have something to share there, buddy. Go ahead, Juan.
I'm getting ideas here already today, but once I was able to get the 12 steps branded, what I was realizing as well is that this is automatically downloading now, which is running terrific. But in order for me to try to reach back out to them again, I went ahead and set they're being sent over to my CRM. Over in my CRM, I'm having them get texted again. And then I'm also sending out an extra email that basically states, hey, just in case if you didn't get the 12 steps, here it is again. So I'm trying to reach out to them as a form of a drip. I've gotten several responses back. Supposedly these people said that their houses are already listed, but when I go check, their houses are not listed. So that's misinformation on them. And then I also have where my ISA, she goes in and she tries to reach out to them on day number 2 by making a phone call, and the numbers are unfortunately not accurate, but the emails are still accurate. So I'm trying to figure out a way where I can at least try to get them on some kind of drip conversation in the form with email, but that has yet to happen, other than one time I had one person say that when I integrated them into HomeBot, that the HomeBot information was inaccurate, but I wanted it to be inaccurate so that I can basically have them reach out to me and tell me, hey, this information is not accurate. So that's been the only form of contact that I've had from someone that came directly from that ad. Everything else has been nothing so far. That's all I wanted to say.
Add that part about checking their spam filter too, though, because just tell them, hey, if I sent you an email, if you haven't got it, please check your spam filter. And if not, let me know, because I've had stuff caught up in the spam filter and it opens conversation. Oh yeah, I found it. It opens a conversation.
True. That's a good idea, Leon. Thanks.
Hey, will there be a way at some point to upload your own list, your own 12 tips list or whatever the number is? I actually have a 7 tip list that I've worked on for a long time that I would rather use. Is there any way to do that at some point?
Custom Facebook ad.
Yeah, we just need to add that as a more of a customizable template, but that's a great idea. We can easily modify that template for sure.
Well, can he just upload his own? And like when I corrected the one and added my branding, I went back and replaced it. Can he just upload that into the StreetText thing and then just copy and paste the link so that they're getting that one instead?
Yeah, no, you most certainly could. I was just thinking in my head, what we should almost do is take the exact ad template and copy it, but make it more editable. So instead of us providing the URL, you could maybe put in your own, so it could send it to the your own set of tips.
Because when they enter their information, it also sends them the list automatically, right? So we have no control over what list it's pulling from.
Well,
you would in that case. Yeah, sorry, go ahead there.
At that point, you do have the option of loading it in Google Docs if you don't want to do the integration into StreetText. So no matter where you put it, as long as you have that URL to use, you're going to be able to send them whatever you want. But I just recommend wherever you send it from, if you can, set it up so it can be tracked.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Where do I have access to? I mean, I know in the email, there's a link in there that they can click on to download it again, or to download it if they haven't received it from the automation, but it does send a list from the automation that I have no access to, that I have no control over. Am I not right?
No, you have control over it.
From where?
So I guess I'll let Jonathan or Stephen do this one. When you rebrand that 12 steps, you can go in and take the old one out and add the new one in, and you can do it out of the StreetText platform, or you can actually do it out of your Google account, and then that's what they'll get from you.
Marcus, would you be able to show that on your screen where to swap out that list? Right.
We'll do a video on the Insider group for you, because it'll just take a bit to show you on this. So, but we can most certainly do that. Let's take that convo to the Insider group.
I actually posted a video on how to do it. So you can go right into the thank you page and just copy and paste the URL wherever you're storing it, whether you're storing it on a Google Drive, and then you can go into the email and change the link there as well. So
I'm sorry, where is that video?
I posted it last night on the StreetText Insider.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, check it out.
Hey everybody, this is Missy from Virginia. How are you?
Hey Missy.
Hey Missy.
Hey, listen, real quick. I think instead of going straight to ask for people's address, if you say something like, "Oh my God, do you know how much equity you have?" Use the word equity. In this market, people have no clue what the options are for them as far as getting above the quote unquote CMA value. Who cares about that anymore? truly, if you throw something out first off and just ask them that question, then obviously they're like, no, we have no idea. So maybe then please go ahead and send me your email or your address, and we'll do an equity appraisal or equity assessment for you instead of a CMA.
Yeah, what I've actually incorporated into my workflow is just to mention to them that because of the pandemic, a lot of people are kind of puzzled as to what's happening with the prices out there. So as a service, we like to provide people this kind of information, and they seem to be eating it up because they're responding, and they're actually even giving me their addresses, and away I go.
That's perfect. And we can automate that type of thing. I think that's a great, see, that's why we collaborate here. If we can create something that we know is a way better ask, equity is a phenomenal ask, especially considering that we know this market has gained X percentage over the time, right? I don't know what the percentages are nationwide, but we should figure out what that looks like and come up with something like that to ask if they'd like to.
I love this. This is so good. And the reason this is so good is because what happens sometimes with our leads is that they'll come in and we'll go directly for the ask. And that ask might be, are you ready to commit? Basically, that's basically what whoever's hearing the ask is hearing. Am I ready to commit? And they're like, oh, I don't even know you. And so instead, reversing it just a few steps and basically say, what's a really good way to make an introduction, but also is moving the conversation towards that appointment. And so that is really the question. And so what you've just described here, Missy, I think is beautiful, because that's a really good next step that will increase your conversion rates. So, because that's really what you want. If you want to have great conversion rates, you always want to start like a little lower than whatever you're trying to get them to commit to. So you always want to start just a little lower, and then you get a response, and you climb up, and then you get a response. And so always put it that's just, you nailed it. So beautiful.
Love it. Now start thinking about the equity ask.
A quick question for you guys. For those of you who are running multiple ads, let's say like the 12 step, and then maybe a listing ad or maybe a buyer ad, how are you guys identifying, if you're using Zapier, how are you identifying those leads so that you can set up your leads to automatically get notifications if you're sending them to your follow-up boss or Brivity or all these other CRMs? How are you identifying those on the Zapier side? Does that make sense?
Juan, are you asking about tags?
Yeah, because when you're setting them up on Zapier, it's going to do that test first, and when it pulls from StreetText, it's probably going to pull maybe the latest lead that you got, and that latest lead that you received may be coming from one of the multiple ads that you're running. So if you set that one lead up on, let's say, a seller tag, but then the second one that comes in may not be a seller, it may be an actual buyer. So how are you guys separating them, or are you not separating them?
So
I'll defer to the StreetText guys, but I think there's a way you can change your tags for a respective lead.
Because we can change the tag once it's in your CRM. That's not a big deal. I'm just wondering, so that, let's say, because it goes from StreetText to my ISA, and if she thinks it's a buyer, she's going to put them on a buyer, but it's not really a buyer, it's an actual seller. And I guess I'm just wondering if there was an easier way.
So we transfer through Zapier, but we always grab the tag that is in StreetText. So, and then I add a tag. So in Zapier, you can pull a merge field, and then you can type some text after that for your own tag as well.
You're saying I can put a tag on it on StreetText?
No, in Zapier. In Zapier, when you're actually doing that that integration with your CRM, you can actually, I mean, it depends on each program. I think we use RealVolve, but you can actually, at least for RealVolve, I can pull those StreetText tags. So anything that is tagged in StreetText, I can actually transfer that over to my system as well. But I can also add a tag even by just typing into that field and adding that. So I always tag everything as StreetText coming in from StreetText.
Okay. Okay.
Juan, I think what you're really asking is it possible within StreetText to tag a respective ad before it gets forwarded to either Zapier or your CRM, right?
Yes. Yes, Jeff, that's exactly correct.
StreetText guys?
You can, but here's the thing with this. It really depends on how fast you want it to go out. If you set your zaps to not pull for a certain amount of hours, that'll give you time to get in and tag it in StreetText so that before it triggers, it'll now go across. But if you're running something that's pulling right away, you're going to be stopping on the freeway trying to hit stuff and create more accident than positive results. So you just have to slow your zap down to give you time to do that.
Yeah, but I think what I hear Juan saying is he doesn't want to have to do it manually. He wants it automated so that he can tag his respective ads on the StreetText side, so they are automatically sent to a respective lead.
So Juan, just to understand what you're asking, are you saying that you want to know which ad that lead came from? Well, there is a way you can do that. So in your automations, you can add an action, which is what we're seeing right here. You can add a tag. You can create a new tag and you can name that tag after the ad that is there. And then all you have to do is make sure that you have a unique automation for each of your ads. And that way you'll always have that tag go out to your leads. Now, in your case, this will be the perfect scenario. If you're trying to manage, if you want to manage your drip automations within StreetText, it would be more efficient to do it the other way, because you don't want to have to go in and edit your email in 12 different places. You'd want to edit your email in one place, or you want to set your automations up so it's always using the same email template, so that if you edit your email in one area, it's editing. So like, because you can do either of those two ways, but you just want to make sure that you're always editing one email once, and it goes across all your automations for all your ads. It's just way more efficient with your time.
Yeah, that sounds like it's exactly hitting what I need to do from quote unquote the back end of it, so that when it goes out, at least we'll know tagged wise what kind of lead it is and which ad it's coming from.
So you can do what you're trying to do.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Which I think is your big question.
Thanks, guys.
Sure. Sorry, Jonathan, I have a question.
I go ahead, DJ.
Jonathan, I'm using the notification from StreetText into my CRM to pass on all the information. My CRM is Top Producer. And I exactly did what you said. I created another tag which has the name of the ad there. But in my CRM, I'm still not getting that specific tag. I'm getting the seller tag or the buyer tag, but the name of the ad doesn't show up in my CRM.
Are you using Zapier?
No, I'm not using Zapier for that. I'm using your
direct integration. The thing maybe Troy can answer this question a little bit better. When you do a direct integration to Top Producer, Troy, do you know if all the tags are included or if it's just the buyer or seller tag?
Most CRMs they'll get all the tags.
So it may be Top Producer just doesn't know how to pull all those tags in from the email parsing. But if you use Zapier, if that's possible for Top Producer, you can get more specific. You might be able to define it.
Okay. You recommend using Zapier?
The other thing is, never forget to ask the people you're paying. You're paying them money, and what you'll find, their tech support folks love somebody that shows up with a question that actually makes them do something. And if they don't have it, a lot of times you might be the one that becomes a test bed. So that puts you first in line to get that going. So reach out to the support and ask them, and you might be surprised what you hear back.
Hey, Leon, Steve, I know you're about to share something, but Leon, I left a couple articles there. I know core logic may be off, but the key on there is the idea behind the follow-up, because if we're seeing a number that shows 20% increase in equity over the first quarter, well, that presents a perfect opportunity. I mean, did you know that you've earned 20% increase in the equity of your home over during the pandemic type of question? And then you would easily have.
Yeah, I use them. Our MLS is powered by it. So I just my main Premier Houses site is powered by the national one, and our CoreLogic does our region for our MLS. So I definitely use them. But I always say, well, I love it when people tell me I'm wrong so I can agree with them and start the conversation.
It's just, yeah, it's more the conversation starter, because if you use verbiage like that on your follow-up with that 12 steps, that's I feel like it's going to start a healthier conversation than just simply asking for the address. Just an idea there. So check out, do some research on that yourself, but that's a good idea to actually begin the conversation. Is like Missy was saying, this is the equity ask. So you do some research on what.
Yeah, it's a good mindset too, because it's basically what you're saying, Leon, is that every response is an opportunity to have a good conversation. And so every response. And so if someone says, oh, this is a mistake, and you fix it, and they get what they were hoping to get, well, great, but is that going to open the conversation? And so what you want is for them to, take the risk to reach out. They reach out, you respond, and immediately in their brain, they're thinking, oh, this was real. This was legit. There's a real person, and the conversation and the trust begins to grow from there. And so, because you want that, the trust building up and to the right. And then, because that's going to obviously impact how many conversations you have with people, and that's going to impact how many appointments you get from the conversations and so on. And so that is really good mindset, and it starts with that. And so what that does is that instead of trying to make everything perfect for the person, you want to make it so that you are delivering on the promise, but in a way that your relationship is still required. And because the last thing you want to do is automate the human out of the relationship. You want to make sure you automate the human into the relationship. And so as much as possible, and this is really, really important. So when you are creating and building out your automations, it needs to feel personal. It needs to feel like it was written from you. When you include BombBomb, that's a really great way of introducing yourself in there. But also, exactly, like, make sure that you leave room for people. You leave room. You don't want it to be so perfect that there's no room for a conversation. So that's a really good point.
Yeah. So on the seller ads, I took my favorite stalker, Jennifer. I go ahead and I just send what they want. They ask for valuation, I send it. And I love it. Like I said, when people tell me the price is off, now I'm starting to push the Google Earth. Troy, thank you, man. I'm about to be an expert with that one. And I send them the Google Earth. And I go ahead, like I said, I've got tabs pulled up for Realtor.com, Zillow, and usually Redfin or whatever. But now I'm talking to them directly. I'm reaching out because, initially it's like, I don't get the who is this. So once I get that's wrong, and I go laugh out loud, you're absolutely right. But now let me break this down and show you why. And then that also lets me go into explaining the current market for what we're doing about the overbidding and why the values of some people's houses is what they think it's worth and all that. So it really gets engagement. It does. It works.
And if no one knows what Leon's talking about, it's a Google Earth app, and he's using screen recording with BombBomb to share. So there's a really great way of presenting the information, starting with the Google Earth satellite, and it kind of just narrows into the town or city or the home. So they're starting to see that. And then of course he's talking about these different values and then putting his 2 cents on what he believes the true market value is in that moment. So that's the follow-up, the personal side.
Isn't there a way to do these tags through, I guess, Facebook directly? Because both of the two ads that I have running, they're coming in under a different tag through Real Geeks, which is my CRM. So, and the way that they did it is they actually went in, I think Aiden showed me how to connect the lead ads for the, I guess, one of the ads that I'm running. And then now when I connected the seller ad, I think it's somehow through the form, because I allotted that to a seller form, and automatically it's coming into my CRM through Facebook. So I don't know if anybody can sort of check that out and find out, because somehow I was able to do it because both of my ads running, they're coming in under a different tag.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We'll work that out and send some tutorials inside the insider group. I want to focus on the last 10 minutes on just sharing wins, because that's the most exciting part. So I'm going to open up the mic to Jean. You go ahead and share a win.
Yeah, I was just kind of chatting. I'm kind of excited about our wins recently, and I posted on the insider group about some of them. But the last one I posted, we had a listing that came from a StreetText person who had really loved the valuation video that we did. So I posted that link so people could kind of see the style that I take. And I try to just be very natural and kind of down home because I'm in rural Wisconsin. So I'm not super salesy. And it worked out really well. We listed his home. We had a deadline. This is when offers are being presented. Had multiple offers. We got him slightly above list price, which was perfect. And in the last 48 hours, he's referred 2 new listings to us. And we're locking those in within the next 48 hours here. We have scheduled appointments with them as well. So that word of mouth and the connection that we built with him is really translating to, like, this is a guy who's just now telling all of his friends about what a great job that he thinks we did, which is so fantastic, because when we met with him, he was kind of hard to read. And we thought, like, hey, we've got this great price, and he just bought his home a year and a half ago. He's making $100 grand on his home. Like, that's the equity that he's built and the demand that there is for their property. But we left and we're like, we kind of thought he'd be a little bit more excited about this. Turns out he is. He just didn't tell us that he was super excited about it. He's telling everybody else, and I'm totally fine with that. So I got to the point, I actually had to add a board. You can kind of see it behind me. I had to add a board because my husband is the full-time, he's the sales guy. I do all the admin stuff because I work a 40-hour-a-week management job for another company. So I had to add a board to keep track of everything that's going on. And I still haven't announced it publicly on Facebook yet, but I am in the process of transitioning out of my 40-hour-a-week full-time job and actually going to be able to focus on our business and have this be my full-time thing. And I am just so excited because it's been a lot. And we're at the point right now, I haven't actually reposted our StreetText seller ads because we have so much going on. I want to be able to make sure that when we get those requests for CMAs, we give them the real in-depth like we like to do. And I don't have the time for that right now. So to be able to stop working full-time for somebody else and work full-time for us, and then to be able to get those ads going. So right now we only have like custom listing ads up because we've got a couple of listings that are a little bit challenging. They need some work. They're not quite as nice as some of these other ones that we have. And those listing ads have gotten us 4 buyers that we're now working with as well. So our listing wasn't the right one for them, but now they've built a relationship with us and they're working with us to find a new home for themselves. So like in the past 2 weeks, it's just blown up and it's been so exciting. And I was looking at the numbers. So we have 9 sellers we're working with. 6 of them came through StreetText and 2 of them are word of mouth through a StreetText person, which is a fantastic ratio. And we have a total of 17 buyers, 6 of whom I would say are really serious, that we're actively showing and meeting with them on a regular basis. And of those, 4 of those came from StreetText as well. So I'm looking at the return on investment. Like, this is kind of what I do. I love the numbers and the facts. And I look at the return on investment of StreetText and it makes me really excited to be like, I'm not spending marketing money anywhere else because like this is what's building our business, because social media is the new venue to allow us to really connect. And my videos can sometimes be a little awkward. And I know we talked about earlier, we don't always say the right thing and sometimes we stumble, but unless my dogs start to go nuts in the middle of a video for some reason, I usually just send it because that's me and I'm not always 100% socially in line with everybody else, sometimes a little awkward, but that's okay. That's what we get and that's me and that's real. And I think people are responding to that, which is really nice to see. And holy cow, I may not have to work like 80 hours a week in the near future. And I'm so excited about that.
That's amazing.
That is so awesome to hear. Jean, just to put it in perspective for some people, how long have you been with StreetText? I know this recent success is awesome. You're building momentum. You know, when did you start feeling the flow? I mean, how many how many deals can you say you actually can track from the StreetText directly?
Yeah, well, we signed up with StreetText February of 2020. So right before everything shut down, which was perfect timing. Last year, we closed one deal with StreetText. We had 2 others listed, one withdrew, and then the other one's still on the market. It's super high price for this area, so it's going to take the right buyer. We know that that one's touch and go. It may not close. We'll see. This year, our one that withdrew last year is coming back. We're relisting that one for them on Saturday now that they've finished all their work. But we're closing 2 deals this Friday from StreetText. We've got 2 on the books for the end of July from StreetText. And then obviously we've got 5 other listings. That sounds right, from StreetText as well. So it is the bulk of what we do, but we're starting to see the residual far-reaching effects. The word of mouth is getting out there. Our website is getting more traffic, because we also have more signs up in the area now for the listings that are on the market. And then people are calling us out of the blue because they saw our sign, or they're going to our website because they saw our sign. So it really has been, we didn't see this kind of traction, I would say, until the past 30 to 45 days or so. So we went over a year with just kind of like, hey, it's trickling in. Maybe we get somebody that's kind of thinking about it, but they're not really sure. And then it is what it is. But when people make a decision, we've always made it to be, we want our name to be top of mind. So even if you're not replying to my emails, that's fine, because I have the BombBomb. I can see that you opened my email, and that's awesome. And, you know, especially that if they're not replying to text messages, but I can see they're opening the email, they don't want to talk on the phone. They don't want to text, like, they're email people. I'm fine with that. I don't really like talking on the phone to people I don't know either. So I would rather have an email too. So we follow their lead, and we just try to, we've always looked at it as giving back. And obviously we're in it. We need to pay bills. We need to put a roof over our head, all that sort of stuff. But what we love about it is helping people out. And we get so excited about, like, this one that we have. She saw our listing, wasn't the right home for her. She just finalized what seems to be a fairly contentious divorce. She's just stressed and overwhelmed, but we're able to step in and help and get her home on the market, get her an offer. So now she knows what she can be looking for when she's searching. And oh, by the way, her house sprung a leak for some reason. My husband's great at maintenance, and all the plumbers are booked. So my husband's actually over there right now fixing her pipe under her house, because he has the ability to do that. And we're not charging for that sort of stuff. Like, we just want to help people. And I think that comes across in how we do business. And that's what makes the difference, is just trying to think of it. How can we help our community? How can we help the people that we come in contact with every single day?
Jane, mind-blowing, incredible, awesome. Your mindset and your motivation is so good. And I love what you've just shared. And this really, I hope everybody hears this. Like, if your motivation is aligned, everything else works. And your motivation is really there to serve, to give back. And because of that, you probably found it was, so my next question for you before I jump to that, but how long, because I realized, so you've been with us for about a year and you got one, I had one seller that came through that year. How long on average have your leads been in the database before they were starting to raise their hand to the point that they were reaching out to you for a consultation?
I would say easily 3 to 5 months that they're getting the kind of the drip email, the StreetText. I customized that CMA ad. I customized the automation for that, and I put in BombBomb videos, and I changed some of the language and some of the message that was shared, because in our area, some of it just didn't feel like it would be coming from us. So I just revamped it and made it our own. But it's so funny with the BombBomb especially. And if people don't have BombBomb or another email tracking, I think Marcus had said it earlier, it totally makes sense to have something, because now I know who to give that little bit of extra kick to. Because if you're not communicating with me, that's fine. But if you're opening those emails every single month, there's something in the back of your head that is there, and you're thinking about it, and we're top of mind. So I'll give it that little bit extra push. And we've got one seller who, again, every single email, every single home bot, she's opening them but she never responds back. But what she has is in really high demand in our town. So I'd send her a little thing and be like, hey, just wanted to let you know, this home just hit the market. It's very similar to yours. This is where it priced at. You know, that still bodes well for your value, but it's a little bit of an extra little nudge that she knows we're still thinking about her, but we're not. I never pressure. It's never like, when can we come over for an appointment? It's like, I wanted you to have this information. Please let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out anytime. But I don't try to put too much pressure on people either, because I'm that way too. When I'm ready, I will reach out. But until then, you could send me 100 emails and I'm not going to reply until I'm ready to reply. So
yeah, that makes so much sense. And so you're so it's really key what you're like, how you're following up, because what you're basically saying is you're building this database of people and you're giving them something that's of value every month, and you're allowing them to get ready through the information you're providing. And when they're ready, they will reach out. And the key there, I think, is that you're doing a really good job of watering the garden. But sometimes what, like, you know, our desire is so bad to get those conversations that sometimes we'll like over fertilize. We'll put so much fertilizer in there because we're trying to hurry them along the conversation to make that decision, that we end up burning the plant, unfortunately, with the fertilizer. We love on our leads so much that but what you're doing is the opposite. And so what it is your cultivation is actually growing the opportunity. So like the longer, yeah. So I really, well done, Jean, like incredible. So again,
thank you. Yeah, I really, and we've always viewed StreetText as our long-term business builder. Occasionally we get somebody that's like, I'm ready to go, sign me up, let's meet tomorrow. But that's rare. And I'm okay with that, because this business is about long-term goals and relationships. And I want to build that relationship with somebody where if I sell your house now, in 7 years, when you've had 3 kids and you need a bigger place, like you're coming back to me to be like, oh, I need a new place. Come help me find that. So that's what we're looking to really grow. And then to be able to have somebody that's pleased and then telling all of their friends and family, oh my gosh, look at what this realtor did for me. That, I mean, we put our utmost into all of these relationships. And I think that really pays in the long run. And it's so much fun. Like, we just have so much fun and we love working together, my husband and I. So I think that comes across when we can go on showings and things like that together. It's such a great vibe. And I think people really build off of that, because we're a little bit strange sometimes. I tell him he's, you know, insufferable at times, but it's pretty funny. So it's just fun. And I literally have been working like 60+ hour weeks, coordinating everything, and to finally be like, I may not have to do that anymore. It's one of those things I just kind of assumed I'd be working for the man for the next 30 years of my life. And now, holy cow, I can actually consider taking a breath and actually working for ourselves. It's so exciting. So like I said, a little awkward, but I'm so excited right now. I'm like, yay, happy dance.
I've actually found better connections going out with somebody when they see that you're pressing a team concept. They really see it and they know it's there. Quick question, Jean. Do you have a relative named Steve Bartz?
Not that I know of, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Okay, because so ask your hubby, because I was with a guy named Steve and he lived in Wisconsin. I thought about that today. I go, no, I gotta ask you that. So
yeah,
if he's in the Air Force, just drop my name. He'll die laughing.
That sounds good. I'll definitely ask him.
I love it. There's so many gold takeaways. So many gold takeaways in this. And I think the key is, right, I use the metaphor, Jean, you essentially planted the seeds early with StreetText in the garden, and you cultivated it and you watered it, and you didn't look for anything, but you were there and you continue to nurture, and people saw the authenticity, that you weren't pressuring them, you weren't coming from a salesy, you were just there to serve and help. And naturally the fruit started showing. And I think that's the key. Is I often find in StreetText, most people give up too early. because they're not getting the feedback that they want so early enough. So what would you say to some people, you know, especially the newbies in trial, maybe in the first 90 days, what would you tell them to look at? What would you tell them to concentrate on? How would you shape their mindset for StreetText?
That's a really good question. And I think it all does come back to mindset. I think the first question I would be is what is the goal in signing up? Is it, I want deals right now that I can close and then just be done and move on? Or is it, I want to build my business and I want to have long-term stability and relationships with clients that trust me and know that I'm here for them. Because if the goal is me focused, if it's, I want to close 10 deals, I want $100,000 in commissions this year, they're going to feel that. They're going to know that. And it's not going to be authentic because they're going to see that you view them as a dollar sign and not as a person. So I would really encourage anybody that's new to it to just make sure that you're thinking of it as their goals. What are their goals? Do they want to sell right now? Is it in their best interest to sell right now? Or is it in their best interest to maybe wait 6 months and then they're in a better position to be able to afford their new place and then they're not stressed out? And you know, buyers in general are stressed right now. So the more that we can do to relieve that for them, the better. So that would be my biggest tip, is just check that mindset and make sure that you're not me focused, you're them focused, because that will help really come across, I think, the authenticity in the long run.
Amazing. And it's funny because I'm a DI. And so we got a lot of drivers in this group that want results right away. And I'm Gene, maybe you're not a D. Have you done the personality test?
I totally did, actually. I'm trying to remember. I remember reading through it and I was like, well, this is 100% accurate. This is exactly who I am. It is, what was it? I'm a finalizer, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, SC are like my two big ones.
SC. And so there you go. And so a lot of realtors, from what I know, are Ds, are high Ds. And high Ds want results immediately. And I think what you just said is, if we can come to empathize with, there's a lot of people out there like you that are cultivating, caring, and serving, and coming from that mindset. If Ds can look to learn a little bit from that process, it'll be the perfect combination, right? It's the perfect combination. So for you Ds out there that want results immediately and you're not seeing them, learn from Gene right here, because this is a perfect combination. If you can combine that, the synergy is going to be fantastic for you in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. So if you can, and it comes down to motivation. So we have a personality. D is a high driver, like you said, decision maker. But here's the thing. If you understand the motivation, it makes you easy. It makes it easy to make the decision for the long term. It makes it easy to make the decision to grow your business and it actually, you know, what's interesting is I'm a high D, but I think just the same way as Gene. And so if you, I think it's motivation. I think it comes down to what are you ultimately trying to get to, the goal that you have, and then ask yourself, is my motivation actually going to get me to that result? Is it going to get me to the goal that I have? Or is it going to make me deviate along the way? And if it's causing you to deviate because you're you know, and sometimes it's not even so much high D as it is just like high stress or high pressure, or because what happens in those situations, obviously, is that the prefrontal cortex of our brain, the front part, which is our logic and reason, that part actually starts to shut down a little bit. And then the amygdala opens up and it starts to take control. And the amygdala is one of the oldest parts of our brain. And that's the like emotional, irrational part. And so if we want to see things in the long game, we have to keep ourselves in the future and realize that the vision that we have painted for ourselves is worth it. And so think about that. Think about where you want to be in 24 months. Is that outcome worth it? And the answer is yes, every single day of the week. And so that will help to sustain the motivation and the that long-term mentality that will ultimately get you to that business where your relationships are just keep growing. Even this conversation right now, your relationships have grown. You're in this mastermind, you're learning, you're connecting. When you go out there today and you're connecting on Facebook, your relationships are growing. It's a relationship business. And it's we all know this, but it's that beautiful quote, which is, if you believe that business is built on relationships, make it your business to build them. And it's so simple, but that helps keep it really state of mind. And then you can achieve your long-term objectives to really grow that thriving business that affords you that quality of life and the lifestyle and the freedom, and also that independence and just the good quality people in your life. So it's vision, work backwards to goals, and just make sure your mindset and motivation's in line. So it's beautiful. I love it, Gene. I love it. Yeah.
Always remember too, database marketing should be a priority for everybody's business. And I think ultimately everybody wants business now. I get it. It's a hot market. Everyone wants to take advantage of it. And some of these leads will naturally, just like Wendy experienced, just say, we're ready to sell. But what about when this turns and shifts and changes? And it will, right? Inevitably it will. And you haven't been database marketing. You haven't been doing the top of the funnel. And now you're trying to scramble and you're coming back, right? And you could have been cultivating those leads that are ready, that are looking to make a decision. And they were just trusting you along the way. So I would say you want the right now leads, the Zillow, the people searching for you, all that stuff. You want the middle, which is the top of the funnel, the Facebook style leads. And then you also want the geofarming. You're geofarming your neighborhood and your areas. Make that a priority at all times. Don't give up on any one of those and your business will flourish.
Hey, then use your title company if you don't have a program to do that. Hey, Miriam said she had something to share. Let's go out on a win. I'm ready to listen.
Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like 100% win. So do you remember last time I told you that I used banner season for direct mailing for like a weekly and monthly direct mailing to my StreetText lead and physical lead? So I got a lead last year. I think she was one of my very first leads last July. Yeah, July was the time that I joined the StreetText. Okay, she came to my funnel last July, and when I called her, she said she's just curious, she's not ready. Since then, I've been emailing her, sending her something, and then I put her in the banner season campaign. At first, I did weekly, which took like I put people on the weekly mailing campaign for 8 weeks, and then after that I changed them to monthly and put them there for like 6 months, and then after that I put them in the quarterly. Also every week they receive 2 emails from me. On Mondays they receive the market update that I told you about, and on Wednesdays they receive like any kind of emails regarding any updates, not necessarily the housing market. So, and I try to call the old leads every 2 months. So last night I called this lady, and she has $750,000 property. Now it has turned the value to $1 million. And she picked up the phone and said, "Oh my God, it's you again. You work so hard. Every time that I receive your mails or see your emails, this chick is so hardworking. I wish I was hardworking like her so I could make that much of a money." Then we had a great conversation. She said, maybe not now, but she is planning to move to California, and she wants to sell her house here. So she was so appreciating whatever I do. She came to me last year, like 12 months ago, but she also mentioned that she's so, I'm so trustworthy, and she says that I know that if I want to sell your house, you're going to be the person who I want to work with, because I'm 100% sure that you can make the work done. Also, in my neighborhood, or anybody, if I know around my family, friends, if anybody knows, if I know anybody that want to sell their property or buy something, I will definitely send them to you, because you're the person who will make sure you're going to make the work done. So I think that was all these compliments from her was so sweet. And that was all because of my follow-up system, which is really good. So hopefully I'm going to get that $1 million listing with 2 months or earlier.
No, but when you look at what
Awesome.
Gene did and you look at what Miriam did, we talk about touches, 10 to 12 at least. And over the long term, you can't count 12 emails as a touch. I mean, you can, but you got to mix and, get a variety of what you do. And even though I own part of my company, I tell my guys, you don't work for the broker. This is your business. Work for you. And I'm motivated to push them to help them get where they're going. Because if they're succeeding, I'm succeeding. And at the end of the day, if you treat this like a business and you sit down and do the business assessment about you, your goals, and that's why, Gene, I was just kind of laughing going through your thing, because I'm like, yeah, I got that aha moment a few years back that, like, what am I doing? And I sit down and started going, this is a business, let's do this. It's nice, it's fun, you can have fun, but it's still a business. At the end of the year, when you look at that 1099, the results show up. And you don't have to make $1 million, you don't have to make $500,000. You sit down and set your goals, figure out what you're willing to pay the tax man, because IRS is going to get their share too, and just treat it like a business and move forward. And so getting the touches, I'm going to start doing some tags because of Gene today for my phone calls only, texts, emails, or all the above or whatever, so that when I pull them up and I look, I can reference what it is that's giving me the most communication with them. And then I don't have to jump all over every system I have to figure out what are they responding to. And it's just a simple little things like that. If I save myself 2 minutes on a client, I got 2,000 leads in the database plus, I can get some sleep this week. So thank you for that today, Gene.
I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, maybe more. If you're going to be successful with StreetText, you're coming to the masterminds. And I get it. You guys have lives. You can't make it every week. You have appointments, but that's what YouTube and on-demand recording is for. So if there is one meeting you have to make a non-negotiable every single week because of the gold nuggets that you take away from the community, it's this meeting. And I often find for people that are struggling, that are not, that end up quitting basically with StreetText, they just don't come, or they're not coming to the masterminds. They're not paying attention to the group. They're not coming to the meetings. And I think ultimately you'll struggle. You'll find that you'll struggle if you're not doing that, because it'll get stagnant. You'll get frustrated, and then you'll start blaming. And I think that's the key. We need to come together as a community and share, and that includes our struggles, so that we can get encouraged and we can find out a solution to make ourselves better. So I'll leave you with that. Accountability is big. Part of this meeting is accountability, right? And we're masterminding together, and then we have breakout sessions, and you have your coach, and you have conversion workshops, you have ad performance workshops, you have really almost something to get into daily. And I know now the coaches are opening up to small group training as well, that you can access their calendar every day. So if you're feeling discouraged, there's where you go next. Message your coach, and let's do this together. Let's rally each other.